Right, so as Jeremy Corbyn's independent campaign gets underway in Islington North, Labour sources are bullish. They reckon they can take Jez down. So much so that even the Prince of Darkness and Keir Starmer's Tales from the Crypt string puller Peter Mandelson is prepared to roll his sleeves up, get down and dirty, and descend to the street level of us proles from the pedestal Starmer seems to have him on, and campaign for Labour's chosen one. And given Mandelson's penchant for mixing with the wealthy, I can't imagine what he sees in millionaire private health CEO Praful Nargund, of whom disturbing new footage has emerged of exactly what he wants to do with our NHS. The fight to get Corbyn re-elected is now more important than ever. So will you be a part of it? Right, so Jeremy Corbyn's campaign has begun. People are hitting the streets to help to get the vote out for him now, but things are apparently neck and neck. Labour's parachuted in candidate, the IVF millionaire, thanks to selling a chunk of his and his mother's business to US private health interests, Praful Nargund, is benefiting from the fact that so many people in Islington North do not realise that Corbyn is no longer the Labour candidate. Nargund is set to suck up votes as people accidentally tick the box next to Labour rather than look for Corbyn by name, and it would be perverse and an outrage to so many if Nargund gets elected by taking so many votes actually intended for Jez. But this is the reality, and there cannot be enough people out there knocking on doors and telling people that Labour dumped their popular local MP in favour of a private healthcare CEO. It's made all the tougher running as an independent how anyone outside of party politics is disadvantaged because they can't access the kind of data that parties can build up. Though in Corbyn's case, after 44 years himself, and of course a very experienced campaign team around him, the local knowledge and his personal knowledge is second to none on that score. People still come up to him in the street, in the supermarket. He gets mobbed. How many of these people still believe their local MP that he's still Labour right now at a crunch time when people need to be widely informed that this is not true, that Labour have done him dirty, and that the guy who could end up being elected as their MP, not insignificantly off the back of, let's call it accidental ignorance, as they look to tick the wrong box by looking for Labour instead of looking for Corbyn. And given this guy Nargund is pretty much Wes Streeting's pro-privatisation dream of an NHS candidate, it's a really dangerous prospect to see him become an MP. And some recently unearthed footage of Nargund speaking on this has just emerged, where he spoke of the private sector's role in fertility treatment on behalf of Create Fertility, his and his mum's chain of IVF clinics, back in 2015.
The genesis of this talk actually came from an excellent conference that I attended, done by the Progress Educational Trust on the commercialization of life. And there was actually a section of the conference on the baby business. And it was a very good session. It was a fantastic, rip-roaring debate. But I found it very interesting that there wasn't a single business person who was talking at the event. And I thought there was a lot of one-way talk against the private sector, and a lot of it was very legitimate. But I didn't recognize it in the organization I work in or the way that I work every day. So I wanted to give a different view about the way the private sector can facilitate innovation and accessibility. And the other thing to remember, of course, is that as we're in a run-up to a general election in the United Kingdom, privatization of healthcare is very, very important.
Right, so he said there in what was a glorified TED talk, basically, that what he was prepared to speak about was essentially based on a conference held by the Progress Educational Trust, the PET, that he had attended, talking about the commercialisation of life. What a horrible turn of phrase, especially presented by a charity supposedly set up to help with issues of infertility and genetic issues. But it's not quite what you think, though. They're not selling it, they're criticising it. Commercialisation of life, the baby business, as Nargund called it. Rip-roaring, he described the conference as, and whilst he did actually acknowledge that this debate did not include business people, and that much of the discussion was against privatisation, as you can imagine such a charity would be against. Of course, we can completely understand that. I'm sure most of us right-thinking people can. Nargund apparently looked at this and thought, well, hang on, I don't agree with that at all. I can't actually find anything indicating the PET are pro-private healthcare. But Nargund evidently saw all this as a problem that needed to be solved. His talk, therefore, was all about why he felt the PET anti-privatisation people are wrong, and how private healthcare, like his own flipping business, Create Fertility, can fill a niche and drive innovation and accessibility in fertility treatments. It's more a case of develop these treatments and then put them up for sale to the highest bidder. But he didn't become a millionaire doing just that. The majority of Create's fertility shares were sold to US private healthcare interests a few years after that footage was taken, giving them a foothold into our IVF market as the Nargunds got a foothold to flog their treatments in the US. Now put Nargund in Parliament, along with Wes Streeting, and watch US healthcare be welcomed with open arms throughout the entire NHS. Privatisation of healthcare is very, very important, as he clearly said at the end of that piece of video. Every time privatisation happens, services decline. Not because of underfunding necessarily, but because shareholders suck the profits out of it, rather than they be reinvested in the service itself. Create did formulate their own unique treatments, but these were seen as a commodity to be bought and sold, and that happens once. It made Nargund rich. It may well help numerous other people, if they can pay. And the sneaky thing when it comes to our healthcare is that for as much as treatments might remain free at point of use, what the NHS will cost the public purse, because we all know it isn't really free. We know we do pay for it somewhere along the line, and we'll be paying even more as those shareholders demand more of a cut out of it. Privatisation, when it comes down to it, when it comes to any public service, therefore amounts to little more than theft from the public purse, to make sure some rich people get even richer, and the politicians that promote this are looking out for themselves too, both in terms of donations whilst they're MPs and setting themselves up for afterwards. Nargund, off the back of this footage, is yet another one of those. And as our NHS, he'll be in a position to privatise next. Streeting isn't even hiding that fact. He's shouting from the rooftops that the private sector is coming for our health service under Labour. Rather than removing the outsourcing, removing the profiteering, making sure all the money sunk into the service is used to deliver the service and not thieved, which is of course what Corbyn stands for, and what anybody who wants the service renationalised fully and properly wants and stands for. What voting for him and making sure people know to vote for him and not Labour is what that will deliver. Of course, Nargund does have his fans, and one prepared to descend on Islington North, as apparently has happened today, black cloak, no doubt billowing behind him, is a certain Peter Mandelson, who took to Murdoch Radio to say just that.
I'm going on Saturday morning to Islington North in order to campaign for the Labour candidate against the independent Jeremy Corbyn. I'm doing that because what I think Jeremy Corbyn stands for, his ideology, what he's done to the Labour Party, the sort of defeat he took us down to in 2019, and the alternative that's offered by the Labour candidate is so stark. I want to go out there personally and back the Labour candidate and do everything I can to make sure Corbyn is defeated. So yes, I do like what Starmer stands for in contrast, and yes, I do think he's on the what I call the realistic wing of the Labour Party, but I also like certain values. He has a decency, he knows what he wants to do, and I think that he has a compass. Starmer has a moral compass, not an ideological compass, and that's what I like.
Now, we can talk about the past, 2019, all we like. It's well documented how that campaign was undermined from within, and I went over Starmer's role specifically in that in another video the other day. The Brexit position he took Labour in being factually the death knell of the party's election chances. Boris Johnson probably had a party that night. But the difference is so stark between Corbyn and Nargund that for Mandelson it is Mr. Pro-privatisation of the NHS all the way, as if any of us believe Mandelson uses it, not private healthcare himself at any rate. Peter Mandelson wants to do everything he can, though, to defeat Jeremy Corbyn. The man's irrational hatred of a guy who is pro-peace, pro-renationalisation, is quite manic. But like I said before, Mandelson likes rich people. They're his sort. We aren't. So if that is Labour now, that is how it is, and we know it is. Those of us who follow politics especially know it is. But so many who do not, who avoid politics like the plague until elections come around and can't get away from it, do not know any different. And the danger to us all, if Nargund wins, becomes an MP in a party of government which we know is private health interest focused, well, he's perfectly positioned and experienced to see that delivered on a platter to the rich. And if he does it because people voted for him when they thought they were voting for Corbyn, can you imagine how gleeful that will make the likes of Starmer and Mandelson? Can you imagine the rictus grins they'll have? They'll put Tony Blair's to shame. So if you've got time to spare, if you want to make a difference, and if you can get to Islington North, here are the next dates available. And of course, you can get all the details of these on votecorbyn.com too if you choose to sign up or just show up on the day. Here are the sessions for the next few days anyway. Sunday 16th of June, the Bedford Tavern, 160 Seven Sisters Road, N7 7PD, 12pm, 2pm, 4pm and 6pm. Then come join us at the pub to watch England's first match of Euro 24. Monday 17th of June, Tufnell Park Tavern, 162 Tufnell Park Road, N7 0EE, 11am, 1pm, 3pm, 5pm and 6:30pm. Tuesday 18th of June, Lizzie's on the Green, Newington Green, N16 9px, 11am, 1pm, 3pm, 5pm and 6:30pm. Wednesday 19th of June, Campaign Office, London Fashion Centre, 8993 Fonthill Road, N4 3JH, at the back of the shopping centre and up the stairs, 11am, 1pm, 3pm, 5pm and 6:30pm. The Labour Party might have been the party that created the NHS, but what passes for it now is nothing of the sort. And this Labour Party, Starmer's changed Labour Party, changed into the Tory Party Labour Party, looks set on destroying it instead. Getting out for Jez is about more than just one man and getting him re-elected to Parliament. It's about more than just him. It's about making a statement that we, the populace of the UK, that we aren't going to stand for more privatisation, and especially not of the health service that we all rely on and need. But MPs you know you can trust to oppose that, well, they're a rare breed. That's why getting out for Jez is now becoming more important than ever before, because we know he, unlike Starmer, means what he says.